Are you launching a business? Have you launched a business already? But maybe there's some questions that are popping up in your mind. Well, today's segment is all about launching a business that's bold and purposeful. And we're excited to have with us in the virtual studio Nicole Morgan. She is the CEO of Resolute PR. And we're going to be having an amazing conversation. Welcome to the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. We'll get started right after this quick intro. Don't you move.
Whoa. Why y'all so happy?
You don't know? Charvette Mitchell is on the radio.
It's time to get motivated, excited, and influenced. Why? It's the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, live from Richmond, Virginia. And now, here to motivate, excite, and influence you, Charvette Mitchell.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, but heard and seen all across the World Wide Web. We are so excited that you are tuning in for another amazing interview and showcase. You know, the goal of our show is to motivate, excite, and influence. And I'm telling you what, our audience and our guests and everybody here today is going to be motivated, excited, and influenced. We see you coming on in all across our live streaming platforms. We know that messages are going out on LinkedIn and messages are going out on Twitter and 3 different places on Facebook and YouTube for those that are live. And certainly we appreciate always our podcast listeners, Apple Podcast and Google and Stitcher and all the places, certainly Blog Talk Radio. We cannot leave you out. And those that may be hanging out with us on charvette.com, we appreciate you live or into the future. So let me shout out a few people. I see Paris hanging out with us here from Richmond, Virginia. Listen, can't do it without my mom. Betty Jean Stanley Mitchell is with us here. I am excited. Over on YouTube, we have Kim and Deborah hanging out with us on YouTube. So we are excited. Go ahead and tag, especially a woman entrepreneur, a woman in business. I invite you, if you're live, go ahead and tag them. And certainly if you're listening to the podcast, you can always share the podcast link as well as we jump into this conversation. Hey, Lynette, thank you for stopping on in. As we jump into this conversation and this topic about launching a business that's bold and purposeful. And as you all know, Charvette Mitchell, marketing consultant, working with service-based entrepreneurs, primarily women in business, but a few lucky men get sprinkled in as well. And we are all about the visibility and all about shining a spotlight on what it is that you have to offer. And what would it feel like? What would it be like if you really felt like my business is bold and it's purposeful? That actually helps your marketing if you're more confident in that. And that's what we're going to be chatting about with Nicole Morgan, who's in the virtual green room. She's ready to come up to the mic. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be shouting out and giving her full bio. Hey, Nicole over on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, LaTanya, thank you for being here. Hey, Marcus, thank you for being here. One of our lucky men. And also over on Twitter, we see some notifications coming in. So let me introduce our guest and bring her on up live here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Nicole Morgan is the CEO of Resolute PR, which is a full-service integrated public relations and marketing agency focused on driving and commanding results. As Resolute PR CEO, Nicole works to utilize Resolute's people, processes, services, and technology, assuring quality service to their clients. Her work has been featured in the Washington Post, Baltimore Sun, and Los Angeles Business Journal. In addition, she publishes a monthly newsletter providing the latest trends in public relations, marketing, and advertising. And now she can add the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show to that. Coming up live here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, without further ado, put your virtual hands together for Nicole Morgan. Hey, Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, Charvette. Thanks for having me.
We are excited to chat with you. Now, you are located where?
I am in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so kind of right in the middle of the country.
Oh, there you go. And so being a CEO of a public relations company, we definitely want to go back and hear the backstory, but I'd love for you to share, because sometimes people aren't sure, like, what's the difference between public relations, advertising, marketing? Tell us a little bit about what you all's philosophy is around public relations.
Yeah, so my background is public relations, but as you know, this is an industry that has just changed so much over the last few decades and is becoming a lot more integrated. You really can't do one thing anymore to be successful. And so for me, with my background being in public relations, it's really about authenticity and making sure that you're truly listening to your customers and providing the services and truly listening to what they need and responding to that and having a conversation. And then that kind of gets infused into all of your advertising, your marketing efforts as well. So when we work with a client, we're really trying to understand what is their goal, what is it that they're trying to achieve as a business or as an organization, and then what's the best path to help them get there.
Phenomenal. And I love you utilize the word integrated. I posted a reel, I think today, talking about layering and, in our marketing. And I don't know if you wear perfume, but when you go to the perfume counter, people are, they're like, okay, get the bath gel. And then also get I don't know if they still sell the powder, but get the bath gel and get the lotion and get this and layer your scent so it lasts longer. So I love that kind of integrated approach. And so how did you even step into this space and deciding to even go this direction?
Well, I really didn't know what I wanted to major in when I got to college. I just kind of thought I'll go and I'll figure it out when I get there. And so I started in the business school and it wasn't really resonating with me. But I always loved writing. And I loved the idea of being in a business setting and being able to work with businesses and figuring out how to help people. And so when I discovered public relations, for me, that was really, it kind of married all of those things together. And then I had the opportunity to work for a startup as an intern and really get that real world experience. So that was what really lit everything on fire for me. Was I got to work in the field, got to kind of test things with clients and see how things were evolving, and ended up working at that startup agency for 10 years. So it was a good long run.
Wow. And so then there had to be some catalyst or something that said, okay, well, let me step out. And I'm sure that probably lends to our conversation about launching a business that's bold and purposeful. So what was that catalyst for you?
Starting a business was not something that was ever on my list of things to do. I really loved my job and really loved the company that I worked for and the clients that I was working with. And this never happens anymore, I feel like, because people, they're constantly trying new things and moving to different jobs. But I honestly thought I would be there forever. I was like, I love doing this. But then, fate happened and the company closed. And so I was kind of left with, I've put my whole career here. And I don't know where to go from here. And my dad had worked in corporate America and I'd seen him go through layoffs and that seemed a little scary to me. Nonprofits were always interesting, but there wasn't like one thing that stood out where I was like, this is what I'm really passionate about. What I was really passionate about was working in an agency setting and getting to help a lot of different types of businesses. I love learning about new industries. And so I just had a lot of people that said, Nicole, you've basically been running the agency, like you should just go start your own. And so I thought, you know what, that seems like the least scary thing to do, oddly enough.
Wow.
So go for it and see what would happen. And it's been 8 years and it happened. It worked out, which is, you just kind of, you get those steps along the way that kind of confirm you are where you're supposed to be. You're on the right path. And that I needed that for sure.
Yeah, I call those breadcrumbs along the way, the Hansel and Gretel story, breadcrumbs along the way. And so what would you say to the audience in this conversation? Because we certainly have a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners that are listening, that are watching, some that are kind of that dualpreneur. So they're working full time and also kind of running their business on the side, some certainly full time. But for that person that's saying, wow, I'd like to step out. I'd like to try it. Any advice or lessons learned that you would share?
Well, I think one thing that can be really helpful is to put yourself in that entrepreneurial environment. So a couple of years after I started my business, we actually had a co-working space that opened up here, but it was an entrepreneurship center. And that for me was just so incredibly important in helping me with the energy and being with other people who were like me, going through the same thing and trying to figure out how to either get their business off the ground or to grow that business. You kind of like, you're riding the wave together at that point and you're dealing with the same challenges. And it was really uplifting to be in that environment. So I would encourage people to look for something like that, because you're not the first person to go through this and to have these questions and these challenges. The other thing that I'll say is that I think that if you've been working on this for a while and you're looking for the right time and you've just been mulling this idea over, it's really easy to get stuck there. It's never the right time. It's like have a baby. Like, it's just never a good time. And at some point you just know this is what you're supposed to do and you should go for it. And so for anybody who's listening to this, who needs to hear that, like, I would say it's time to go for it. Just move forward. Don't get stuck in the planning, because you'll get stuck there forever and you'll never give it a try.
You will never give it a try. So well said. And so, sometimes when people launch, it's like, I'm launching scared. I'm launching with my knees shaking. I'm launching, but I love that, you're advocating, like, launch a business that's bold and purposeful. What's the difference in kind of that, my knees are shaking versus being bold and being purposeful?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point you just have to get that. You've got to get that shot of courage and go for it. Being really specific in what it is, thinking through, what is the service that I'm providing? How am I different than everybody else? Doing your research. Those are some things that I will say are very much worth the time to think through before you move forward and launching your business. And if you're having trouble with that, the other thing that I'll say is, so there are tons of resources. I know in Tulsa, and I know there are in other cities as well, of different organizations that you can plug into that will provide you consulting and planning services and help you put together a business plan, so that you're not necessarily launching with your knees shaking. It shouldn't be because you haven't done your homework. It should be more that excitement and that, like, okay, I'm really going to go for this and I'm going to move forward.
Well said. Well said. And so in this space of, like, marketing and PR and all of that, feeling like what you have to offer is bold and purposeful shows up in the marketing, or shows up in interviews, or any of that. And so what would you say from that kind of PR lens and marketing lens, that might be some guidance and advice for people that want to launch their business that's bold and purposeful?
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in the brand that you put out, and from a marketing perspective, what you put out, it should match the level of the service that you're providing. And I know when you're first starting out, like, funds are limited. You have to make decisions on, like, okay, how much am I going to put aside for me? If you are bringing on employees, how much do you allocate to that? But I would say when you're in those very early stages, like, that is something to invest in. And don't just do it yourself and put together a logo and, like, move forward. Like, that is something that truly it's setting the stage for how you're going to move forward as a business. And it shows that you're investing in yourself, and you will feel that. Like, I think when you have a legit logo that you're excited about and that really reflects your business, and it also, that process forces you to really think through some of those things too, about what is my purpose and how bold am I in moving forward with this business idea. I would say that's so important. So that would kind of be like thing number one. I would absolutely advocate that you should spend money on those types of things.
Yes. And, over your 8 years, more than that really total, but over your 8 years of running Resolute PR, what would you say has shifted or changed with public relations, marketing, all of that from then to now?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I actually teach a class at a local university. I just teach one a semester. It's like all I can handle. But this semester, I'm teaching Intro to Strategic Communications. And so we've been talking about this kind of evolution of the industry, because when I got my degree, it was a degree in public relations. And you kind of had to, like, you didn't get access to marketing or advertising. It was very siloed. And so I've had to learn a lot of those things in the real world, on the job, testing and tweaking and things like that. And I would say that from a public relations perspective, and why it's now really moving more towards strategic communications, is that when I was first starting out, I could pitch stories left and right. There were, like, little small town newspapers. There was so much opportunity for media coverage, so many reporters. Your local paper would have, 5 different beat reporters in the business section. And that is not the landscape today. It's just becoming less and less, because the media is becoming fragmented, but also people are seeing the opportunity in owned coverage. And so rather than handing that story over to a reporter and hoping that they cover it in a positive way, but losing control of that message, I can record a video, or I can write a blog, and I can be the expert. And then there are other opportunities for me to push that content out. And so we're seeing kind of the benefits of both. There's still a time to pitch that story and engage a reporter, but you just can't get enough of that anymore to really move the needle like you could. So you have to look at these other avenues to get your message out there.
Oh, Nicole, you are preaching my language right here. That owned exposure, that owned media is so important. Your blog, like blogs aren't dead, right? I literally revamped our main website, mitchell-productions.com. And the thing that I was most concerned about, I wasn't concerned about the color. I'm going to always be on brand. That's not, I had my photography, I had all of that. I had 413 blog posts. I was most concerned about moving those, make sure the links still work, because that's how people are picking up in Google. And so we successfully moved all of the 413 blog posts, but that is my media. This is my media. So encouraging certainly, small businesses to kind of consider that they want to have their own content, right?
Oh, those links are gold. So that's amazing that you're able to do that. We actually just went through a website redesign ourselves, and I had the same concern. I'm constantly I'm still like, oh my gosh, it's not broken, right? Like we did do it right, because I know how important those are. The other thing that I'll say about blog writing is I think that's a great opportunity to kind of build your confidence too as an entrepreneur, because you are the expert in that moment. And so sometimes I use blog writing. I'll start with search engine optimization to try to identify what those topics should be, but I'll use the blog writing as an opportunity to really think through how I'm presenting that information and what is the advice and the recommendations that I give to clients. So I think it can be really therapeutic, and it's also just a great opportunity to show yourself as a leader.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful. If you're just coming on in, we're having an amazing chat with Nicole Morgan, CEO of Resolute PR. And we're just chatting about launching a business that's bold and purposeful. You're also getting some PR and marketing tips interwoven, laced in. Nicole, while they are watching and listening, how can they connect with your company, follow you all, and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So our website here on the screen, resolutepr.com. So there's a contact form on there that comes straight to me. So I would love to connect with people if they ever have questions. I'm always down to brainstorm, and just, this is something I'm really passionate about, because I know it's tough to get started as a business. So I'm always happy to do that. We have links on there for Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So you can follow us there too.
All right, wonderful. There you have it. And so what do you say to the person who is an introvert and they see be bold and be purposeful, or they are shy and they see be bold and be purposeful? What guidance, or what would you say to that introvert entrepreneur?
I have to hype myself up sometimes. I mean, I'm not naturally an extrovert. And so my dad actually ran his own business for a little while. And that was a challenge for him, because he is very much not someone who goes out there and sells himself. And so he struggled with this, because, at the end of the day, especially when you're first starting and you don't have a ton of staff, and finding a business development person is tough for any business, because really that entrepreneur, you are the best person to be the face of your organization. So whatever you need to do, whoever you need to channel to make yourself feel like you can get out there and do it. The other thing that I'll say is that I feel like post-COVID, everybody's having social anxiety. I mean, I went to an event the other day that I showed up 15 minutes early, and I waited in my car because I was like, I don't know if I can carry a conversation with strangers for this long. So I'm going to hang out for a little bit. I'm going to kind of get centered, and then I'm going to go in, because I know I got to do this to get business. So you're not alone in that. I think even the most extroverted people are struggling with this, but it is so important. And that's the thing that I think will make or break any business. They think sometimes they can hire a marketing firm, or they can hire a PR firm to drive sales. And while we can certainly help, at the end of the day, you are the face of the organization, and we can only take it so far. I'm not a salesperson. So when company a company hires us, like we can help, we can elevate, we can coach, but we're not your sales team. And so that is just part of entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, there are things that I took on. Like, I'm not a great HR person. I didn't even think about that being part of the starting a business and running a business, but guess what? It is.
Oh, by the way,
so you better figure it out or learn or get resources so that you become more confident in those skills.
Yeah. And hardest part, Angelique, thank you for saying, hanging out over on in our private Facebook group. That's the hardest part. So you are not alone. You are not alone. You are not absolutely not alone. And I concur. You can hire social media managers. You can hire, all of these people. But with the wave of reels and live streaming, what we cannot replace and what we cannot outsource is you. What we cannot outsource is a face to the brand. Great. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll let you sip some tea in the virtual studio, Nicole. We're going to come back and wrap up and continue this great conversation around launching a business that's bold and purposeful. And this also gives our listeners and live viewers a chance to share and all of that. So I'll let you hang out in the virtual studio, and we're going to be back. All right, great. All right, keep it locked right here. You're checking out the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Don't you move. Imagine what it would feel like to throw a spotlight on your business and draw attention to the great services you offer. Picture having the tools and strategies to elevate the marketing of your business. That's the mission of Mitchell Productions. We consult with women entrepreneurs and a few lucky men to help them get more customers by focusing on their visibility, their marketing, and their branding. In working with us, our clients generate more revenue and increase their brand awareness. We do this in a couple of ways with consulting services, the Platform Builder Group Coaching Program, pop-up conferences, book collaborations, and the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Hi, I'm Sharvette Mitchell, your online marketing strategist, your overwhelm eliminator, your platform builder, and your confidence igniter. Let's schedule a meet and greet call so that we can accelerate your marketing. All right. And you can connect with us at sharvette.com if you're hanging out there, or if you are listening to our podcast, just check the show notes, and that will show you our full, our bio for our guest, all of the links to connect with our guests, and also our connection points. So let's jump back on in and bring Nicole back up live here on the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Great conversation coming on. Thank you for those that are on. We see you coming in from YouTube from India. Welcome. I know that it is late or early for you. So thank you for being here. And so this conversation about purposeful, I think is so powerful as well. We actually have a book collaboration that's coming out. That'll be coming out the beginning of 2023, and the title is Prepare for Purpose. And so there's so many people like either seeking purpose or purpose-driven life. That was a popular book, and but just a lot of people that resonate with, I want to be on purpose. I don't want to be random. What do you say just around purpose and thinking about how to be purposeful in your business?
Right. Well, I mean, this is it's a lonely thing to take on. And there are definitely days where you look at what you're doing and you're like, oh my gosh, like, is this worth it? Am I on the right path here? And I just am a firm believer that if you know what the purpose is and you have a purpose that's kind of your guiding light for why you're doing this, that makes those conversations that you have with yourself a whole lot shorter, because you know where you're going. And I think as you bring on employees, having that common purpose where they know what they're bought into and what it is that you're trying to do with an organization is just so important. So I really, I try to think of how is what we're offering our client or what we're recommending our client. Is that purposeful? Is that helping them achieve their goal? Because that's part of our brand. Like, we want to make sure that what we're recommending to people has a purpose. It's not that we're trying to shove this specific service area down their throat, or we're, this is where we make money, so we're going to try to sell that. That's not what it's about. It's really about what is the purpose behind what we're doing, because if it's not purposeful, it's probably not going to be successful.
And that is the bottom line there. That's the bottom line there. One more time, how can viewers and listeners work with your company and also make connections with you all?
Yeah, so visit us at resolutepr.com and go to the contact button. If you fill out that form, it comes straight to me. You can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Would love to connect with you all, especially some of you that I was seeing some of the comments and where you're saying this is really where I struggle. And this is such a great community that you've built. I think that this is something that is so helpful to people to know that you're not alone. So I would love to, help lift anybody up that needs that.
All right. Not alone, not alone. And I would love for you to just share as a last question, second to last question, what should people have in place before they work with a PR agency? Are there, things that you would recommend, hey, kind of have this kind of done before you bring in a PR agency?
Yeah, I think a clear point of contact, and it's got to be somebody who's going to have the time to get that agency the information that they need, and is going to be able to be, ready to provide, to communicate, because this isn't something that you can just turn over and it's good to go. If they pitch a story and a reporter wants to do an interview, you got to be ready to do the interview. The PR firm shouldn't, in my opinion, be the one who does that interview because you are the expert. So I would say having someone who can allocate time to be that contact, and whether it's you as the owner, that's going to be an investment from you, or but that's a big piece that I think people don't think through. They're so ready to get help that they don't think through, what does this logistically look like?
All right, there you have it. And the last question, the goal of the show is to motivate, excite, and influence. And we want to know what continues to motivate Nicole.
Oh, what continues to motivate me? I mean, I think my team, I have a really awesome team, and, like everybody, people come and they go, and you get new people onto the team. And I am a big believer in collaboration, and seeing how when you get a new person on the team, how that just continues to grow and build what we do and the services that we offer and how we interact. And so that is really what gets me excited to come to work and to do what we do, because I know that what we're offering is awesome and so valuable to our clients and the women that I get to work with. That is what really gets me excited.
All right. Well, we wish you much more continued success. And thank you so much for stopping by the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You are welcome. You are welcome. All right, listeners, it is going to be a wrap today for our show. You can always go back to charvette.com, our main website for the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. See the full bio for our guests, link to all of the podcasts, the YouTube, the Blog Talk Radio. You can find everything that you need there. We have a whole blog post just for our guest, each guest. So that's a great connection point. If you're like, what was the website? How do we find her? Charvette.com is going to be your best bet. And if you're listening to the podcast or the talk show version, look down at the show notes below, and you'll find the information for our guest and also for the host, myself, Charvette Mitchell. We are glad and excited that you are here joining us live. And whenever you are catching this, also in the replay and in the podcast, we're going to see you all later in these internet streets. Go be great. Bye.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you've been listening to the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Get Charvette Mitchell every Tuesday at 6 p.m. interviewing all the stars you want to hear from. So until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. This is the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show.